whoever got the emails I sent around, the draft. Sent these questions that raised about the school budget.
Did anybody with you or?
No, just a letter that superintendent sent. She sent that to everybody or?
I don't probably anymore.
Yeah, we had one from the superintendent. Got the email of Todd. That you were in.
Yeah,
Sure. Or transferred.
yeah, the one yesterday.
Yeah.
I got that one.
One,
Well, not the superintendent.
No,
that's it, let's see,
Mine was actually.
yesterday. Actually, it was dated today. Today.
no.
And I did notice that not everybody had been included. So tell you what, I'm going to take a big look at the. Okay. The spreadsheet that I sent around that showed what the questions are we have about the school budget. Did
Mhm.
everybody,
Yep.
everybody able to
Just,
understand that? It's kind of together. Maybe a minute, but I think I got all the pieces in there. Well, what the concern is that we had received what we thought was a budget proposal, all the level service budget. And that budget, that's one service budget, there was a shortfall of $300,000. And it basically was the budget that confirmed what we've been told. Some person needs, and so fine, what we expected.
Was it clear? We didn't figure that out.
Yeah, put all the pieces together and came up to the 390,000. And then we went to work on some things. First of all, the schools were able to get an arrangement with Southampton School Department, which was very good for both departments of reducing both of our overalls for transportation, which went down by 100,000. So since we had already committed to that and what we thought was just a bare bones budget for everybody in town, that we agreed to take that out of the transportation budget, it's no longer needed there. But instead transfer that then as basically, it's like cloud cash to the school budget, to take care of the 193. And then went to work on the basic town budget and found a way to change some things around so that we could free up 200,000, thirds of $390,000. And then so we thought that that was it because they had wrote back to them and said that didn't say, okay, but we said what you have told us after their public bubble meeting might match up with what we have for our records. But we didn't actually have a budget that they presented to the town, to their town. And so I asked for a copy of that full budget and got it. And then when I tried putting the pieces of that together, I found that not only was the 390,000 in there, but they had put in an additional $340,000 into the budget. So what we had as the budget that was given as the one that they presented to at their public meeting was not in fact the same budget that was given to us as the level service budget, which is what we thought we were working with. And then and had agreed to put the 390,000 in. So what happened was they gave us a budget that had an additional roughly $340,000, which they took out of available funds. So then that raised the question of, is this the same, why isn't this the same budget that was given to us when they said, here's what we do with the level, here's what we can do with the level service budget? And we thought that we had all agreed that we found a way to fund it with the additional $390,000 so that they could do that level service budget. And then it turns out that the second budget was not the level service budget because they threw in another $340,000. And it raises the question, we've got $340,000. If this is supposed to be a level budget, make it the level budget, use the $340,000 that you found so that we don't have to commit money, which would be much better use in the stabilization fund because we know the problem's coming up. And got this letter back from superintendent, but that still doesn't answer the question of
Yeah.
what is in this budget that's not in the
That's
service
separate.
budget.
Did you have a chance to read what I sent you this time?
Um, yes.
What?
I think
But
so.
I don't know what she's talking about.
You didn't see Bob's message? Cause I think that's the response to something you wrote. But I thought.
No,
that
I
was
just sent it,
private.
whatever I vented on
That was
weekend,
private, I thought.
last week.
That's a separate issue.
So what's
So
that?
this
one
is
there?
totally-
Some of it's a separate issue, but I think when
This is coming
we
out of.
get around to it, I think their budget that they said that was level service, on the face of it, was not level service. It was not balanced. That's what I think happened. And that they, because the 190 didn't, switching it from here to there, didn't give them any more money.
But it should have.
No,
The
because
200
because they're just doing, here's what the total that we're gonna spend, here's what you're giving us, here's what we're short. And that 190, we just moved from one side to the other and it didn't affect the shortfall.
But I think that's what, when I did I redid the budget without transportation.
Right.
And without the transportation in it, looking just at the school budget, they were 390,000 short in the school budget. So then,
Yes, this is, I'm looking at what Todd sent us, that forwarded to us yesterday.
the thing that I have stated May 4th, that shows all the figures,
Sam's true.
except transportation is taken out because that's not part of the school budget. So they went and I looked at the school budget, and for the school budget, what the level service budget was that they gave us was $390,000 short and did not include any transportation in it. So that if we then add $190,000, it's additional money to the schools.
The 390 was before we added the 200. So the 200 plus the 190 made the 390.
Right.
Yeah, that's-
And then we added that to the 500 that was already in there, made
Yeah.
90,000 extra.
Right.
But it did add extra money to their budget.
I don't think
No,
so.
it didn't.
Because it just switched what accounts it was in. They didn't,
But it's not in their budget on the page that I put together, which is, takes out transportation. Takes out transportation. Their budget is $390,000 short. There's no money for transportation anywhere in this budget.
I'm looking at this one right here that he sent, the final, there's a 0.
Right.
So I'm not sure,
Wait a minute, there's no 0. This is the one he sent out. Wait, this is the one he sent.
no, I'm looking the one that Todd sent.
This is the one that John sent.
Yeah, John made that. one.
Yes, but
Todd made that one.
Right, this is Todd's, this is John's.
Yeah, they're two different authors.
mm,
And what I did on this sheet was there were a few numbers there that I just put in as numbers. The rest of stuff was, you can actually, when you look at the spreadsheet, you actually see the additions and subtractions. That's how I got to the figures. So it's not just figures being pulled in from other places on the, from the places on the budget. The thing that Todd sent us had the entire budget there, and some of the figures in the columns on the budget referred to further pages back within the spreadsheets, within the workbook. So,
Right, but
But I'm looking at,
Do you see the workbook down there?
yeah, this is Todd's. basically. So this is what he sent. This was the forwarded
Is that
one.
the first one?
So this would, yeah, see, this is Todd's summary budget. Yes, it's zero.
Right. Yes, a zero, this one as well.
I see what you're looking at.
So that's the one that was forwarded to us.
That was just received yesterday.
Correct.
Right, and I have that is here too. So, where is it?
Right there.
It does have that.
Yeah, but the transportation is there. You said transportation. is
No, I meant the total budget.
So the
So,
projected deficit.
but there's the 890.
Right. So with the 890, there's no deficit reserve.
Correct.
Right. Which makes sense, because that's why it's 890.
Yes.
yeah, and that's why I think I'm adding in new revenue into their school budget. It has nothing to do with the transportation. The transportation budget, when they were doing before, they put down what they called school budget, was actually school budget plus transportation. Out of that, and then readjusted the level service budget, called for a school operating budget of, after we took out the income expenses of 10 million, it started with a revenue figure that did not include any revenue for transportation. It just took that amount. That 190 is no different in the money for the town, but it is a difference for the school. The town was in the town's budget, but it was not in the schools, it was not in the schools' operating budget. It was in the transportation. And when we took it out of transportation,
But they reduced the transportation and increased the other side by 25. That hasn't done anything to help them out. In other words, they reduced one budget and increased the other. The school department.
So what they did was whatever they were gonna use for the town. Because again, I'm going back to Chris. He said that he would help them find ways to help support it. So if he reduced the transportation, which would have come out of the town money for transportation, it reduced our cost because South Hadley picked up that other piece of it. And he moved it to a different area in the school budget. He removed it.
but except that it was never in the school budget, it was in the school transportation.
Correct,
It was-
I understand where it's coming from. But he was trying to find a way to close the gap on their deficit. He was trying to figure out ways that they could get funds. If that deal didn't work through, they wouldn't have $190. South Hadley came through and negotiated with the contract, which allowed him to give them $190,000.
It was never in the school budget. It was after the money became available through reduction in transportation. That it became additional extra money from the town into the school budget.
Correct, because to help cover their deficit.
Right.
Well, why it was there doesn't make any difference. In terms of before, the town had $500,000 additional beyond minimum in the school budget, plus had a 1.3 million amount of money for schools, for school busing. Then, after they were able to work out the deal with South Hadley, that reduced the amount that had to go to school busing, but that it didn't do anything for their budget. It only becomes part of their budget when the town makes an additional $190,000 contribution into their budget.
Except for they couldn't complete their budget because they didn't have all the information to be able to complete the school budget. That's why there was a lot of zeros left. Because they couldn't complete it.
They gave, no, but he gave us a budget, which was called a level service budget. So this is what they were asking for as a level service budget. And what they asked for as a level service budget and what the town had committed to them for budget purposes was $390,000 short. All right. And then that $390,000 was made up by, since the town was no longer paying for the amount of transportation that had been in the original budget, that money was transferred into the school budget. It was never in the school budget before because the busing is not in the school budget. Busing is not in the school budget. It's not part of the school budget. They put the figures together as if it is, but it is not. And so when the whole thing was taken out of there, nothing was taken out of the school budget. Only the word school budget had a reduction in it, but the actual school budget was unchanged at that point. All the money came out of transportation. And then we put it back in as an additional town contribution into the school budget.
So I'm looking at, his final budget.
What passed out?
Yeah, yeah, from yesterday. And the item that has really changed, increased, is called pupil services. And it was in the level budget, it was 2,519, and now it's 2,867.
What kind of services?
Pupil services.
Pupil service.
In transportation,
No, pupil,
Oh,
it's in the budget.
Budget by department.
In the-
So when, the other numbers change a little bit.
that was in that, in April, they were informed of a change to one of their students. That email.
So that's why the May budget is different in that area?
Well, that's what I was hoping to find out tonight, because the superintendent says that everybody knew in April, maybe in late March, that they had, because our first meeting with them was back in early April or late March, when they told us about there was $340,000, I think 300 some odd thousand dollars that they were going to have to spend because the special needs student did to Granby and could accommodate him in the schools, him or her, a child in the schools, so they had to arrange for an outside schooling for that child. And so, since we had been told about that so long ago, when they started giving us additional budgets, including like a service budget, we assumed that everything that they had told us before was in that budget.
That's definitely where it changed.
And so one of the questions is, what budget is that child in and what budget is that child not in?
It's not in this budget, the original one that we received.
Not in the old one, but it apparently is in the new one.
Yeah, we got 347,000. That's one student?
Yes.
It's residential.
Hmm?
It's residential.
Oh, it's residential.
And- yeah.
Still way behind.
But that was all we were doing. It's residential.
That's all they can talk. That's all
And
they
they-
can say.
And for us, it doesn't make any difference.
Right.
No, it's
Just
just
in our interest in knowing any details.
Yeah.
It's a strange number for us.
Yeah,
That's all.
but that's what it is. That's what-
What are we arguing about? Or,
For discussion.
Well,
let it solve, because if we believe what the superintendent has to say, there isn't any question, I don't think, as far as the numbers are concerned. Their original budgets did not reflect the $340,000 placement, and now it does. And to get there, they had to come up with $340,000 more
So
of their funds.
And they came up with it
Where did
in
they-
the.
Well,
in
they-
the-
and that's what- That's why I invited somebody from the schools to come and talk to us this evening to tell us
where does this money
where,
come
where
from?
does this money come from? Because what we were given
It
as
came from the
level service
circuit
budget
breaker.
is
What's
not
this?
what we were given, was not what they voted on at the
You're
town.
using terms I'm unfamiliar with.
So the circuit breaker,
Before they had like 600,000 coming in on that.
No.
Now they have 900 and something.
That was an estimate.
yes.
Be careful with how you use estimate and pretend that it's real,
Right.
okay? Because they got 880,000 this year. And the state is approving 20% more funding for circuit breaker next year than this year. So why
then
would we be going down? We can't be.
No, they're going up.
They're going up. So what they did was they changed the number to 900,000
That's what they.
Yeah.
To make it even.
to come up with the, oh, yes.
Because if that was a student that just came in, it was just, so that would make a change in it. And if they only have an estimate on it. This is a very complicated budget. It's not an easy budget to follow. Because there's so many different moving pieces and they come from different areas. It's not easy. And like I said, I spend a lot of time on DESI because I want to understand the state's requirements
Right,
and their mandates.
right.
Because, and it doesn't matter that the problem with the state of Massachusetts is every child, whether they're in preschool or in special needs up to the age of 22, I believe.
22. If they don't get a high school diploma.
Correct.
If they get a high school diploma, then it
Then-
ends with a high school diploma.
Right. But then there are other services that they can go into,
Right.
which then falls in a different category. But it's pre-K. So we're mandated to service
Yeah,
for
no,
that child.
yeah, no, we have no
So-
question at all about that.
Yeah.
That's not an issue with us.
But if they just found out in April about a new student, and when we got this in March, we wouldn't have had that information. I don't know how they get their circuit breaker information.
Well,
They knew
by
about
the
it.
time they gave us the level services budget, it should have included that student. Timing wise, they were aware of it.
If they knew about it in April and we got this in March.
No,
I'm talking the
no.
the level services budget. We
Oh,
got,
Beginning of April sometime. It was before they had their second meeting with the citizens to tell them what the budget was. But we found out about it was the March meeting that we had with town administrator and the police chief, who was the police chief was the acting town administrator. The former town administrator, Chris Moore. Mary Jane, Todd, Bob, and myself. I don't know if somebody else joined us at one point. Oh, and Jim Bartos was on the telephone. That was
What?
she was on the phone, so participating in the meeting. And that was a meeting that we had in March. And that's what we were told about.
Yeah, that was the first.
right, so yeah.
And so that's why,
April.
I mean, we were just absolutely astonished. It was not included in any budget that.
So this isn't money that Granby has to make up. They're gonna get it from the state through the circuit breaker program.
But the issue is this, was that child in what we were given as the level services budget? Because if that child was already in there, then this budget that they've given us as an additional budget way beyond that. Which means that the conversations we had as to why we're willing to put the additional 390,000 all change. If that child is in all these buckets. We would not have put it in there because it's better used putting into the stabilization funds because we know that's gonna fall apart. And they've demonstrated that they've got the money for there. They put in the three.
That letter is like that subject.
And you have on your,
Mhm.
do you have access to their spreadsheet?
Yes, yes.
Check the most recent one that we got.
Yep.
And hit the tab for special ed.
They increased it 300,000 since the first sheet we got.
Right. Actually, three.
Or, so you've got three sheets. So, what was it increased?
This time. This,
And this budget,
Just
yeah,
this one?
just
Okay,
this one.
okay, it wasn't increased on the
The
level
old,
services?
no,
Okay,
'Cause
and
I-
the answer is it wasn't in the level service budget.
because when I looked at this and I compared it to the one we just received, this one is different than the one we just got.
It's
So the question becomes, why are they sending us budgets that don't
they just,
show all their expenses?
they made us.
How are we supposed to believe anything that's sent when they,
But it does seem pretty clear that's what's happened. That individual is in here now in this expense and they increased the state circuit breaker revenue by 300,000.
Okay, and that can be verified through the actual budget, pieces themselves. No,
worksheet.
What do you mean?
all the back of the budget.
Maybe just
The
say
extent can be verified, basically line item budget.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking.
Is this typical? Is it always this confusing?
No, this is a special year
Why?
because of the problems with town administrators.
So,
Budget should have started in November. Started in
April, March, end of March.
end of March.
Wouldn't build a building much like this. That's kind of a bank would throw you right off of your rear end.
Let's not pretend this is the dam.
Maybe like that. Where are you getting that on?
So on, they have a different tab for each. So they have the schools,
Yeah, they have different worksheet.
Right.
Try it.
they have transportation,
Can you find?
I have it right here.
yeah. I don't have, it's not broken out that way, but
There
what,
it might be the sheet.
yeah, so this is it right here. So it's,
Here's the level services.
right, but,
so
600.
this is the amount.
right, that's, okay, now
And then
you're on the
you
tab
have
that's the
to-
estimate of
So
revenue.
this is,
Go back,
That's huge.
go back to the summary page here to the,
so this would be the
First page.
transportation.
Yeah,
But the big number that I think is causing heartburn is this student, the extra student cost.
Yeah,
ESD,
pupil services,
no,
yeah.
ESD.
I don't think there's any explanation of that. It was just,
Let's go down to the bottom and get the total. No, that's not the total. Second, I don't think.
So, well, I guess what I'm saying is in this level service budget in terms of what they were expecting to get, or what they estimated to get on the circuit breaker was 600,000. And in the new sheet, it's 900.
Yeah. No, I was trying to look and see what the special ed cost was,
If they found that if,
and on this one as against on the other one.
So this one. This is the other one that we were running. It's 2,000,005.
Is pupil services only special ed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should be, numbers are 347 difference.
So 2,009,000,
see, these numbers,
Eight sixty
866, yeah.
these numbers, they're just pulling right from the other sheets links. So, page 62, they say.
This makes it difficult for everyone.
That's what it is.
Moment that the letter explaining it might include some sort of apology for should give us information that wasn't transparent.
I think the superintendent sent her apology. In that letter. you see.
I don't think so.
Well,
I didn't read anything that indicated that.
that's the only apology we're gonna get.
Oh,
That's what I,
yeah.
that's what I've heard.
The only apology is a non-apology.
It's big for DI.
But at least we understand it.
We think, we're understanding it, Marion, by pulling together different scenarios that seem to make sense with the finance side, which. And you specifically asked them to attend this meeting to answer a few questions and nobody's here. That's,
Well, you gotta wonder. And we'll wonder.
well, that answers all of our questions, it's true. We can hypothesize whatever we want now. Anyway,
Okay,
how should we proceed, Jim?
well, let me try to make some phone calls and see if that's what's happened. If they left it out of what we were given as budgets.
But if it's an oversight,
After we all agreed
you
that,
know,
no, that was supposed to be in there because we found out about it in March. And why didn't we get budgets? So let me just
there's
Right,
going to be
maybe I'll
on
find out.
Thursday.
find out what happens, but if that's the case, then that matches up okay. Because there'll be no assumes. Our only intention was for the things that we had seen before. If that was what was the budget was, this extra money, they never told us what the extra was for.
However we get to play it out, as I can see it, this shortfall will be paid for by the state. It's not money that Granby has to now donate towards the school. Is that correct?
Well, indirectly
certificate
because,
program.
indirectly because there's money that comes from the state into the schools, and then the schools pay for it, which they don't always have to do, and the money has to come someplace.
Right.
So it either comes from taxpayers, or else it comes from money that
State
goes from
programs.
programs, and state funds that go
So that's what I'm
directly to
trying
the
to
schools.
understand. This shortfall, according to Mary Ann's putting together all the pieces, it's coming from the state. That's all I'm trying to understand. Where's the money coming from? Granby's not putting in another $340,000.
Well,
Against when?
Against what?
Against when?
Again, well,
Well, you said
this,
an additional,
this new budget, which is, includes the student. Okay,
there's no new money from the
Right.
taxpayers.
that's my question. That's my question. I mean, I'm listening to everybody talk here and I'm trying to understand.
we switch to our, write-up,
Sure.
or actually, maybe I'll do the minutes first.
Whatever. John picked up a couple of things on the minutes. Sloppy clerk. That space between
I couldn't tell the difference.
Y and M, in capital. Well, the second time the person was mentioned, and then the other one was, the date of the meeting was, I did not change the date of the meeting.
That's the point.
I needed a very polite way to say, yeah, I actually read these things.
Well, one did have the same date, but there was a 9 right
Yeah,
below
underneath
it.
it.
Yeah.
So that was the difference of the date. But the verbiage was about the same, except Mary Ann was late at one meeting. She
Yeah.
didn't appear in another meeting, so anyway, those were the subtle differences I saw.
Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes.
A motion.
Able to approve the minutes. Second,
Second.
any additional changes? If not, then all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And I'll take a motion to approve minutes of April 29.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further comments on those minutes? If not, then all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much. All right, let's switch around to our write-up. I sent around copies of it, and also I sent around what I call this revised scratch sheet. Right. And that, let me take you through that, because that explains some of what has been happening on these figures. It changed some of the figures. And if you look at the left-hand side, telling you what numbers stand for, you'll notice that I've got three separate items, three separate amounts for what might be called the down budget. And they are things that we've done in the past, which are not necessarily, I don't think necessarily important. Big one is this, apparently last year, we left out the expenditures for paying back for the school, $700,000 left out from what we call the town expenditures. It was not included, it was taken out of every place. And that should have been included. The other thing, though, that we have done in past years, and I'd like to continue to do this, is that money that goes into the stabilization fund, I do not consider part of the budget, and that is not an expenditure by the town. It's money that we've got. And if we don't spend it, then you may not know this, but if we don't spend it somehow, but it becomes part of income, it doesn't get lost to the town. It just gets diverted to the following fiscal year, becomes part of free cash in the following fiscal year. That's why I never considered it as an expense of the town. You're talking about expenditures, I don't consider it an expense. It's money that we specifically put into the town savings account, which is stabilization funds. And by doing that, we then have immediate access to it anytime we need it. You wouldn't have to do anything with it. You pretend it didn't exist, in which case it would come back the following year as free cash the following year, but then would not also be included in the expenditure of the town. So that's why I don't consider it an expense, any more than in your homeowner's account. Money that you put into the net amount of money you put into the savings bank is not an expense of yours for that year. And so in order to keep up the expenditures matching up with one another, I've always taken the additions of stabilization funds out of the expenses. But I think the cost of the school ought to be in the town expenses. It's a capital line, and all other capital lines in there. So with that, on the overview page, I changed much. I've made all the percentages be just one decimal point percentages. Right. Yeah, it's consistent throughout there. And there was a little bit of it, there was a little bit of change in what the 1.9% higher figure was for this year. Yeah. Because, when I compared the total increase to what last year's figure was for the student, 1.9%.
They calculated those and came up with the numbers.
Well, that's why I put together the scratch sheet.
Well, From what I stated for schools, the way to get the percentage change is you look at the cherry sheet this year, and it gives you what we got last year as against what the estimate is for this year. Now, it could be that you might have used the estimate from last year rather than the actual.
Well, I think what I included was what was in the budget.
That's what was used last year.
The last year, the chapter 70 money, 4,881,625. I think that's what it was.
The cherry sheets. It's the actual cherry sheet distribution. Fiscal 20s. That is 26 was 4,929,700.
Yeah, that would have been after. Do you have the green booklet from last? Do you have the green booklet from the town meeting?
Well, I got Chris's figure, but I don't have the note, like something else. No, it's.
That's second.
I forgot my computer, but I had it all watched out.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, in the write-up that went to the town meeting, which was in basis for stuff that happened. We say that state aid for schools, including school choice funds, it's actually chapter 70 school choice, charter school money, is $5,628,187, which is the figure that I have.
What did you say it was, John?
of $5,628,187.
Okay.
That's a combination of chapter 70, school choice, charter schools, and total.
Okay.
That's what information we would have had at the time of the town meeting.
And the number that I was using was 5,646,000. That, well, that's
Well, it could
what
have
it
been,
actually turned out to be.
yeah, there could have been changes in all three of those, in all three of the composite figures. But since that's what we reported on, and that basically what that went to the meeting, that's why I used that as the basis for it.
Well, I would consider it better to base the estimate for next year as an increase from the actual of this year when it's possible to do it. So
Well,
one of my complaints about the way Chris keeps these sheets is that he never updates for the way the budget is actually passed. So we're always comparing budget to budget, not ever budget to actual.
Well, didn't he put actual in this one?
There's an actual figure for past expenditures, but it's based, but it's not always filled in. My understanding, since I was told that the library spends all their budget every year, and yet that's not reflected in the sheets that we have.
We don't spend all their, what, they spend all their, yeah, they do, they spend all their, what the town gives them, and they don't spend much of what the state gives.
Right, but they spend what was allocated by the town. And, but the budget sheets don't reflect that. The budget sheets reflect a deficit in, not deficit, but unspent funds in some of the totals for the, not the line total, not line things. And so, also, the other thing is that as of now, all we have are estimates for the current income for next fiscal year. So, I'm happy going with what estimate we had available to us last year and what estimate we have available to us this year. Because in one sense, we can't guarantee that any of the figures are correct. But we can be pretty sure that it's not a 3% increase instead of a 1% increase. We can be pretty sure it's not a deficit compared to last year compared to one of that we're pretty sure, but that's the most that we can say. And so,
Not a gross difference.
yes, I just use the figures.
Not okay, but it's not a gross difference.
Yeah, the budgets are only projections.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
For the income, there are projections.
right. Expenses would be the same,
Yep.
would be, because you could lose staff
Expenses can move, but-
during the year and they don't rehire. And we're projected that the expenses are gonna be with 5 people. And then halfway through the year, they lost someone and replace them, so their expenses would decrease. So then
Yeah,
when
there-
you look,
There is a slight difference in that nobody is supposed to spend more than
correct,
what's in the budget without getting a special,
correct,
board approval has to get a special allocation.
Oh,
So the money is there. And it only accepts that for emergency situations.
so
So,
it's special allocation, is that a special town meeting then? And
well,
the
no,
mayor wanna-
that's what the function of the reserve fund is. There's putting away about $130,000 a year in reserve fund. Which is much smaller percentage of the budget than but that's the first place. And the finance committee has its own basic set of feeling its way through that if in case of very big expense. The alternative is finance committee or special committee to approve one, so. Bob, you okay with us going with the projected figures that we had in all the years?
But there's not a lot of difference
No.
in the percentage. It's a matter of principle, no. But it's a matter of practicality.
Okay, the next section on the budget, again, there I've made some changes to some of the figures. And based upon what I've got on the scratch sheets, so. Know where all the stuff comes from.
Yeah, I don't see where the 29.5. You say the total budget for 2027 is 29.5 million.
Yeah, if you go to the scratch sheets.
Yeah.
That's budget A,
Right,
29,506,214 dollars.
right. See it here, but I don't see where it came from. In other words, I guess I'm questioning it.
Oh, okay, well, let's go through it. That's kind of key for how this whole page looks. The first thing is, we look at up at the top and we get what the total school budget, just the total that's spent by the schools.
Right,
And you get a total that is
15,942. Right? Total education, so.
where there's the minimum that's required for the school, then there's the extra amount that the town contributes. And then capital items, transportation, entire teacher's healthcare is a total for schools. And then if you go down to the very last thing on the first page, where we take the 14.5 million for the Granby schools and then add in Pathfinder, Smith, and East Meadow, you get an education total of 50,942,000.
Right,
Okay, so in that then goes into the block that's up above for education total of 50,942,000. Now the net general government figure there is 10,596, and that comes in from the total general government expenditures of 13.9 minus what's spent for the schools, because what's spent for the schools is already included in the cost for the schools.
right.
So that gives us a net of 10,596 for general government, that general government.
Tell me where you get the total for the enterprise funds.
The that's on the notes page.
Yeah.
There are on the generally come from the warrant article.
Yeah, I know that.
And
But the number that you have isn't what I think that number is. I think you deducted the 183 from it.
and I deduct,
Yep, you don't take the
183 was
stabilization fund, but that comes out of.
yeah, that doesn't come out of the stabilization funds. I mean, sorry, that doesn't come out of
Enterprise fund.
the enterprise funds.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. Look at the numbers, see if they're correct.
There. Do some of this.
Here. One. We need to know that. The summary sheet has them.
Let me.
It is here in the bottom, right? Right there.
Yeah.
That,
That's the number I think should be in there.
that is the number in there.
What is it? Number of what I have,
Oh.
1,533.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. That's somebody that agrees with it.
yeah, it should be.
I can get one more, I'm all set.
So you think this is because of the East Meadow School?
No, I didn't have a problem with that number.
Cause it can bring with, it's gotta be East Meadow School, because it wasn't. It's not done the same way as it was last year, so he said that's gonna be East Meadow School. Because before they were taking more out. That's what they're taking now.
I've got the,
Let's see, good.
I've got the enterprise funds as being.
One 726, right?
Yeah,
1726.
Yeah.
that's the combination of the solid waste enterprise fund, the sewer fund, Pleasant Street pumping station.
And if you take 183,000 away from it, that's the number that's on
Yeah.
the report. Which is one of the stabilization reports, and they don't come out of that.
That's the one that number.
Well, it comes out of large capital items. Enterprise funds is enterprise funds. So. The warrant article.
So, good.
But also, I don't see any 183 in any of the budget recaps. I see 120.
Something like.
The stabilization.
It's not this.
When you look in here. it's in one.
In here, it's gonna be. 61 times 3. That's the 183.
So.
Yeah, it's the 123, so. Yeah, it's right here. 123.
That's not the same number.
What number of your?
This is page 2. And it's the,
Oh, I see it in it. Here. Capital needs stabilization. So are you saying that's just one?
No, there's 3 stabilization funds, each even 61,000.
But see,
oh, but you know what? I'm looking at an old. This isn't the revised one.
okay, but see here in this detail. It's not showing that. Let's put down here. Deal, this, and that. These are 0. And this is 123.
You know, I did not take the stabilization funds out of the enterprise funds. I think the question is, what did I add up to get to the 1,424,520?
How's that?
Because that's where the stabilization funds.
Why come out with a different, well. Stabilization fund number that is in here is exactly $183,000 less than what is on here. It's right to the penny. 1,726,350 something.
The stable, but where's the,
Here. Which is on page 2 of the notes.
Okay, at the bottom of the section four, the general government, so the, capital stuff, is the, was $1,538,518. And then from that, I subtracted the $113,890 for Smith Vocational. Took that out of there. And, may have been an additional 25,000 taken out from it. So, and I think that, and that's where the figure $1,424,628, $1,424,628 comes from.
So that number we can agree, we agree.
And that includes the 183 for the stabilization fund, so that's why I subtracted it from, I know on the page, it looks like I was subtracting it from, the enterprise funds, but I wasn't. It's just the negative amount off the positive amounts, it gets subtracted from what I have written here as general government capital warrants. You see that works out.
But still, the
You're not taking anything out of the enterprise fund at all. So it's gotta be what the total is. It can't be any other number, you can't work toward it anyway.
Yeah, that's what I sort of did. I took the, $1,538,518 in general government, capital warrants. And I subtracted from that the Smith vocational amounts of $113,890. That gives the $1,424,628 that I have listed as under general government capital warrants under fiscal year 27. So, but that includes $183,000 for stabilization funds.
Includes or excludes?
It includes it. It's this total figure here. Started with this total figure here, which is the sum of all these things.
Closer.
Okay.
My eyes don't work at that distance, yeah.
And so that was the bottom line was the 1,538. And from that, I subtracted the Smith Voc amount, which is the 113.
Where's your moving once later? Where does that come?
That's the figure that's at the bottom of the column, the 1,538,000. Then I subtracted the Smith Volk amount from that, and that gives them the figure on this page, $1,424,000.
Right, but the enterprise funds should still be 1,726,352.
Yeah.
They're right down there below it,
Yeah, that's the figure below that I have listed as the enterprise funds.
but it's not what's on
No.
your report.
No, 1,726,352.
Then you're right up.
There's your,
Those figures are correct. It's not the right figure for the. $543,352.
That needs to be 1241628, right? The 1424 number,
That should be, yeah,
1241628.
yeah, that number should be, that number should be $183,000 less than that.
Okay.
I'll correct this.
So So John, the total budget, back to the total budget for FY 2027 is 29.5 million.
29.5.
So you're saying the reason it went from 28.9 to 29.5 is because of East Meadow School loan payoff? It doesn't exactly work, but it's close.
Well, what I did to get the increase was I used figures from 26 and 27, both which included the amount in that year for the paying back the loan on the East Meadow School. So that they matched up.
I had this sheet based on your old recap, but I had added in 2027. So in there. Yeah. it was, the East Meadow loan was into the total ed, but then it came out of general government. And which it came out of general government, and that was consistent with what had been 26 and 25. But now you're including it, you're leaving it in, right? That's a
Yeah, and I think what we gotta decide is whether it should be in with school expenditures or it should be town expenditures.
but it should be in somewhere.
It should be in some place, you know, both years.
We put it in there, very last full cost for all education, right? It's in that.
It's in that government. Yeah. So,
Yeah, that's at it's at the bottom of the page. The sheet. Or back to the, you know, bottom, packet stuff is Granby Schools total, Pathfinder, Smith Oak, Eastman Building, Education total.
But it's not in the cost attributable to Granby schools,
But it's not at the cost attributable to Granby schools.
even though.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
You can argue it either way. The, there are arguments either way. I think it's probably important to just make sure that it's consistent. Very, very
but somehow it seems like we're counting it twice to get to 29.5. That in fact, the budget is not 29.5, it's 28.9.
Well, it's not in income for a school, it's not in state aid. It's not in the parts of the budget.
Not sure I understand what you're saying. The debt service is in debt service. Or retirement debt interest. Other than that, we get in under those accounts.
So
And I didn't bring these yet, I have my own file.
Okay, well, this was this was actually,
Okay, this is this, and then you had the 795, whatever it is.
and if you get close to the, you know, I don't get exactly, but, you know, here on the budget recap, okay, because this is what was said before, it's the total appropriation plus the retired teachers' health insurance. So that's gonna give you the 28. Cause here's the budget, total appropriation. This is,
Do we have it, is it already included in the general government section? We have pages for retirement debt and debt service interest. And so
It's on those pages.
it's on those pages. So we've already included that. We've already included that in the general government expenses.
Yes,
Okay. So now what we should.
or total town expenses.
Total town expenses, yeah. Well, that's the 13.9 million figure, includes that amount that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So unless we subtract that out.
Wait.
Subtract it out, gotta add it into the school side.
Then we had it in the, you have to add it in, someplace.
Okay, so here it's in the school side to get the 15,942. It's got the East Meadow in there.
Yeah, it's
We
in here.
agree that, so it's in there, it's in the schools. Then we come down here and we take it out of the general government. Wait, this is just another. Which I think here you're not taking it
I'm
out.
not taking it out.
Not taking it out.
Taking-
So it really should be 28 point.
Yeah, let me go back. So let's see what comes out.
I have another copy.
Okay.
Excuse me.
I think you need to strike out that last. Half of the last sentence. End of the year. We get adjusted for, blah, 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 blah.
Which one?
Well, the same thing. You've got the word note in there,
Yeah.
all right? And right before that, you've got wording adjusted.
For appropriate health insurance, some occasions they do
I
that.
don't think there is any of that.
Huh?
I don't think there is any of that.
Well, that was a sentence that was in there from last year.
Yeah,
And I just left it in why, but to check to see whether or not it belonged in there.
I don't think it was in there.
Yeah, that's why I put down the head that time.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
Okay, your note was to that.
the note was
Just
to
that
that,
is specific.
yeah, just to that very
To get
specific
that,
thing.
okay,
And we question it.
Yeah.
Question the other stuff first.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, those are easy enough changes to make. To double check, make sure that looks okay.
So then we just need to get the expense, which I think is on here, that sheet I just gave you.
You know, there's another thing which I've always been gliding over. We talk in some places, talk about some things about, when we borrow money for capital items. There are no expenses in that first fiscal year. Because we'll borrow something in fiscal year 27 after fiscal year 27 starts. But the first payback will be in fiscal year 28. Won't get any payback in the first year we borrow it. And yet we carry all those capital items as if they were expenditures in the year of the budget. And then as a matter of fact, the effect of that though is in future budgets because money is usually taken out of either stabilization funds to pay back the loan or it comes out of taxes to pay back the loan. So in future years, we're counting the actual dollar expenditures for that. And yet, I don't think that it presents a valid picture of the town if we say, all right, we're gonna spend $25 million in cash this year. Oh, and by the way, we're borrowing an extra $3 million, so the budget's really $28 million. Well, it's a big difference if you say the budget is $28 million versus say it's $25 million. And if you just wait until you're paying back bits and pieces of the whole anywhere from 40 years, 3 years to 40 years, it really kind of there's really no way to say that with anything short of a whole ledger to hand out at a town meeting. So, but it's always been done that way, and I'd be open to any discussion on that, of course, but I think that it's the easiest way to give people a picture of what's going on in the town.
Most of the paybacks over a 40-year payback, that's.
The
That's-
building,
That's an exception.
that's
Those are buildings, that's what I'm getting at. You
Yeah.
can't,
These other things,
You
all,
can't.
this year are all 5-year.
5-year.
well, that's what I'm saying, you
Records.
can't draw. Even fire, ambulance, whatever, they're expensive, but I don't think you can draw
Yeah.
beyond.
And we did, and then it's also, that's the exception, though, that in the year that we contracted to borrow $40 million or whatever it was with schools, that did not go, I mean, that was there, but that not the expense of the town.
Yeah.
But that is
So
expensive.
you don't make any mention of the report about the
Yeah,
future impact of the
yeah.
debt service as it comes due.
And some of that, you pointed out on the information that we get, which is still a year behind on stabilization funds, capital needs stabilization funds. It shows what theoretically would be committed under the capital needs stabilization fund for borrowing payback the things that we borrowed for in the past. So it, realistically, you gotta say that if you use that stabilization fund money for something else, then you're gonna have to pay it back on the taxes. So, it's why the effective amount of money in the stabilization fund is much less what the book value of the stabilization fund is right now. Because, again, town meeting cannot commit future town meetings to any kind of expenditures. If you default on the loan, you default on the loan, but that's determined year by year.
We certainly didn't make any progress if we put 60 more in and we're coming up with an $80,000 cost in the future. So for this year, we ended up in the hole. Future. Money in for the future, we put debt into for the
Yeah.
future, so
Yeah.
we aren't gonna be able to pay it back out there, obviously.
Okay, are we finished with the discussion on budget?
Yes.
He's not from
Correct, yes. Yes,
No guarantees for.
Yeah, we're not committing ourselves to anything for Thursday. The last page of what's ahead for Granby, I only included one additional sentence from what we had in the draft.
Catch that.
And I'm not sure that it belongs in there, but it's the third last item on this page, the fourth last item on the item that is all this new rolling stock and equipment necessary. And then the complacency was surely more maintenance will avoid the replacements. And what I added was a sentence, until it doesn't. Because that's another one that it's easy to make that statement, saying that you can repair things forever. Instead, the whole thing falls apart.
I wonder, on the junior, senior high school item,
Yeah, is there a better way to say it?
or,
Or we can leave it out?
no, I'm not advocating for leaving it out, because I'm thinking the town should be thinking more about this, because if something has to be done with the high school, then it'll cost money one way or another. I know they're trying to. I know Markville thinks that other surrounding towns may have extra seats, extra room in their high schools. So that the cost of building a school, when you're looking at regionalization, you also need to think about if we don't regionalize, are we gonna have to build a school? What are we gonna do with that school? So that it's not just an operating expense, there's also the building expense, the capital expense.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's clearly a very controversial subject.
Well, you know, again, this is a thing that we're very much worried about. That we know East Meadow costs what, $60 million or something there.
Okay, it was 60.
Yeah, so much that.
And state paid in,
Yeah.
so it must have been. We got back 52% from the state, some figure like that. So maybe it was. I forget what
The state did over half, we're saying.
Yeah, yeah. And that was to make an addition for kindergarten through.
Right. Wasn't there some remodeling of
No.
existing?
So if we wanted to build a high school for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 grades, that's gonna take more space and not be able to use any additional space that already exists in East Meadow School. So, you know, we're gonna be talking well over $100 million to build it. Now, if the town passes an override for that, it's gonna be a much bigger override than was passed for East Meadow. Plus, it's gonna come after we've had to pass an override to raise money to repair the dam. But the point is that if we think that's gotta be done with a building, rather than some kind of temporary classroom sort of thing, and the town doesn't vote for an override, well, then the only other budget in town that'd be big enough to cut to pay back what we see we're paying back here is the police department budget. And who wants to cut the police in half to build a new high school? I just can't imagine these things.
I'm not sure I'd like to comment on temporary classrooms.
There's a better word, I think, about for what you're thinking about.
Because the issue, temporary classrooms, the problem in the high school is probably not the number of classrooms as much as it is the infrastructure itself and the labs and all that sort of stuff. So
Circulation.
we would,
The total cost,
temporary classrooms, even if they were acceptable as a place to house the students, it
how much
is
it costs, how
so
much this
a
thing,
real problem.
For East Meadow,
34, and it contribute, they contribute, the 17.3.
high school would be more expensive, around you know, like more wiring or anything.
What was it? East Meadow cost was
34 million,
34 million.
and the state contributed 17 point something,
Right.
0.5. Well, it depends on what.
So a new high school would be over 3 times as much.
Why would the high school be more?
Well, because grade 6 through.
Yeah.
Grade 7 through. Well, because of everything that you need in a high school that you don't have in as part of the middle school. Right?
You know. The middle school is all 1 floor, the high school currently is 2 floors, so that changes the.
It also
structure.
depends if they're getting a new school or if they're going to like do what they did to East Meadow, the older portion, was they like updated, revised it.
But East Meadow only was 1 phase, they
Right.
added a second phase.
Correct.
The current high school is 1 phase, so the plan would be, can you accommodate whatever growth you need with a new building? And upgrade the existing building to meet current code. And one analysis, when we looked at this years ago, they weren't talking about adding any classrooms because the population had fallen.
Fine.
But when you talk about looking into the future, one thing that's not I mean, we're talking about Lansing Ridge up on Carter Street. That's plans for 72 new homes. And everybody said, well, don't worry, this new families are coming into town, but they don't bring a lot of kids. Well, historically, that hasn't been true, but obviously you can't argue with demographics where, you know, comment you made last year, a couple years ago, where you've been in town for 30 years and the population hasn't changed. Well, those are facts.
Yeah, also, there's another thing I
Are
think I
facts.
remember about the school aid for building is that the state would not participate monetarily in you building ahead for the future. If you knew that you're gonna have class coming up, it's gonna be much bigger in size. You can do that, you can do it, but you'd have to pay for it yourself.
The point I'm saying is, you're asking about future, which I think is very valid, is you have to determine a need. And need is based when you're talking about students, you're talking about physical space, classes and all that, and they need a certain amount of flexibility built in because class size doesn't stay the same each year. But there has to be a scope that identifies a need that this current building can't meet.
Yeah,
And that would be the addition, and then you would modify existing.
but that's what I think that you're not
Space.
allowed to do. You're not allowed to say, well, look, we know within the next 10 years, we're gonna have 70 additional homes built in this one spot. And I think what the state says is that you can think that if you want, and you can build it if you want, but we're not participating in the cost of it. If you wanna do that on your own dime, go ahead and do that, but we don't do cost sharing on a basis. I think that's what the state's position
I
is.
find that little hard to believe, only because as places get, I'm familiar enough with other communities that have fought against developments like this because of that exact reason, that will put pressure on the school and the community buys the land and doesn't allow any future development there. But we've got a planning board who is open to that and it's been approved already, so this will come, I don't know when, but it will come. And I'm not saying all those new houses are gonna generate X number of students. But there have to be people out there smarter than me on sizing how many students can we expect coming out of those houses that we've got a lot of old property in town. And yes, you have a lot of young families moving in, but you've got a lot of people like me who own a house and I'm not having any kids and, you know.
Yeah, but,
So the population has to be looked at
yeah, and if
It
you're
is.
going,
Part of the study that the state requires
to show
is to
where,
determine what your future census is going to be.
that's right.
So at that point, you present that you're gonna have this number of homes
And we have a building.
in a
that
certain time frame
accommodates-
and whatnot, and
Yeah.
the state will say yay, or the state will say nay
And
to
we have,
building the school for whatever the
and we have an
population.
old building that has to be updated. And we don't know, are we gonna need more space for students or more support space? There's probably a need of some sort, I don't know. What I'm saying is we have to determine what the scope is. And I've always been against just saying we're gonna tear down the high school and build a new school. You know, Granby's not the community for that to happen. But we gotta do something like what we did at East Meadow, where there was a need, we were closing a school on West Street. So there was a very defined need coming to East Meadow that we could replicate. And then we had to upgrade that single-story school, but that is less complicated than a two-story school.
yeah, and the state's all in agreement with that. Wasn't any problem at all. But I don't think that they will participate in paying for their future growth.
I don't think that they will pay for future growth beyond what their projection is for.
Yeah.
What's already got the school system.
Well, no, it
No.
could be a percent. I think you could maybe make a case that you're going to grow.
Mhm.
It's probably very difficult.
That's what they have to do with East Meadow.
Demographics is hard science. It's
Yeah.
not witchcraft. I mean, they can project what communities will grow and shrink and whatever.
The state might pay for future growth. And it might very well not pay for it, it would depend upon what the study shows.
Administration too, I'm sure different administrations will be cool on the subject versus others who would be warm on the subject.
Now, John, on this wording on the item, I put in the word repair,
Need to be replaced or repaired.
one or the other.
The high school subject, Rob, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Or updated is another word.
I looked up and in 2018, it cost 55 million for them to build Pope Francis High School, which was built for 500.
That
Now the
included,
total.
that included a lot.
What?
I know personally.
Well, they didn't use the old building, did they?
No, it was torn down.
That's what I'm saying.
Because the tornado destroyed
No,
it.
I understand, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so they had to build a new one. And that one, the state paid for a portion, FEMA paid for a portion.
Let's
Yeah,
say
to
you're
get a loan.
quieting up here.
Yes.
A little extra money from various people.
Yeah, so
No, there's a
this,
donation.
yeah. This one, but it didn't just include the building, it included athletic fields and things and equipment and things like that.
But
So
so
it was
high school would want those things, right?
Yeah, those are expensive. too.
These guys already have a field and stuff, so it wouldn't, this cost included a lot of
They
stuff.
updated even the playing fields and everything in Pope Francis.
Did everything is free.
Because the building got knocked down, but.
Yeah.
but
And
the
then-
roof was torn.
And then it was, they wouldn't be able to use it.
No, it's, yeah,
Torn down.
Yeah.
And then they have,
Can't
they
trust
have
it.
new fields and stuff, so that included. Because they had playing fields before, so they had to update all that.
Anyway, it's a significant number, which is what we're talking about, whatever it is.
You have any idea, do some work review or repair rather?
And for a while, they used another school, well.
Chicken.
Yeah, does anybody know, does the school have a statement of interest on file about our school? You know?
I'm not 100% sure. I thought when, Stephen Sullivan was here, they were putting one in, so I don't know 100%. Cause I know they were
I
talking.
would think the SOI would be, that's what the study would determine. In other words, I don't think you put the SOI in for new school. You put it in for solving the problem for school.
Okay, I was just asking in case that there already is an SOI, it would say that they're about.
So would,
You're getting extended
would the
analysis.
towns know that, because they would have to communicate with them?
I don't know it, you don't know it.
No,
That's what I was asking, whether any of us know if they had some wireless in high school.
Could we find it online?
Well, there had to be a one time.
I'm not
They
sure.
proposed the new building, I don't know what year that was.
That was for,
Was that last century already? No,
No, this century.
it was this century. I'm amazed how many things.
that's gonna be for all students, so.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a complex for all.
No,
Except for
just the high school,
It was just the high
just
school.
the high school.
Yeah.
And West Street was still.
Oh, yeah, that's right, West Street, yeah, because one of the points we made was that was at the time when, for years and years and years, the town had turned in an SOI that said West Street is our first priority. And then came around time to, we actually got in the queue, and they said, oh, ignore everything we've told you for the last 14 years, we want to build a new high school. And, just leaving aside the fact that West Street was falling apart.
Right. So when the high school that got voted down, they refocused on West Street by the addition at East Meadow, I suppose. Is that the general? You know, once the high school,
Actually, it wasn't an addition to East Meadow, it was a new building.
well, they wanted to replace East Meadow
Was that,
No, East Meadow was not
on the card. It wasn't
the
on
building
the
that was built was not technically an addition to East Meadow School.
It wasn't. It's a,
It was a brand new building.
well, it is a brand new building.
And it was a brand new
happens-
building, and they
it-
found a way to sort of put it together and duplicate some,
Yeah, there's a courtyard in the middle.
yeah.
yeah, there's a little walkway there between them,
Yeah.
covered walkway.
Technically, you're correct. That is what the facility is. There's an older building and a newer building that's connected
And I
by
think that
corridor.
sort of deals
Yeah.
with some of the rules and regulations.
No, it does, exactly. But- Well,
So is that the, and what about the what about the commentary? Just,
I don't know, I thought, I can't come up with anything good, but how about saying it would adequately solve the problem? Or problems? Which makes it a little bit more tongue in cheek, I think.
temporary tells me we're just kicking the decision down the road. We're not solving the problem.
I don't know. I'm not sure that we were. If the problem is repairing it, spending a lot of money on it, portable classrooms aren't the issue is the money that's involved. If it's classroom space, then, you know, portable classrooms would be
There must be needs analysis.
theoretically an answer.
Yeah, there has to be an analysis of the building with all this work that, studies that have been done without preparing it again. I guess the building hasn't changed. But depending on who did previous analysis,
You know, in 2018, there's a report from DC that says Granby's in bad shape. And the town officials and leaders should assess the long-term impact of declining enrollment on available revenues and other resources and develop plans to meet the challenges of declining enrollment and an inadequate senior high school. Without such projections, the district and town cannot get the return they want from investment choices, chart the future directions of their schools, and ensure they are effectively supporting district priorities. So that was in 2018
who wrote that?
of the Department of Secondary Education.
The state?
Yeah, the state.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Because it says we are having steep enrollment decline.
Student enrollment decline is happening everywhere, so that's not unique to Graham.
No, but they're showing us compared to the state. It says like 5 years in Granby were minus 25% and the state was plus 0.1%.
That's changed though,
That's
because
not-
that's from two thousand
This is from
eighteen.
2018.
So if you look at I just have the enrollments. They've been staying steady. So they really haven't had a major decline.
is that school population staying steady, or is that the Granby population of school children staying steady?
It's the
We have a
school
lot, we have a lot of
Well,
school choice students.
yeah.
in the elementary. We do. Let's go back.
I don't think there's any argument the school needs to be updated. I don't think it needs to be torn down and replaced. That's my vote. But it certainly can be updated. There's value there that the town can take advantage of. And It's just a matter of putting the right glasses on to solve the problem we have. And I'm not, what Mary Ann is saying, what she's reading about school population, that's a national problem, by the way.
Right.
I worked for a company that built dorms. And if you were a major school, you had no problem with students. But anybody that's a modest school or a smaller school, like right up here at Hampshire College, they're closing because there aren't enough students for the number of schools we have. And that's just simple demographics. But we shouldn't be throwing away that school, just like we finally decided to keep Western. Because there was a lot of talk about throwing that building away too, thinking that was the cheapest way out.
But they're saying that the problems are so serious that they try to fix anything, they go past that, there's a certain percent.
There's a certain threshold, but it's not, when you look at finances, it's not. That's the point I'm making. It's not past any, the building is not ready to fall down. It was built in the 1960s.
No, but if we say we try to, whatever, fix the kitchen, put in the showers, you
It's a
know,
whole project. You're right.
then they have to budget for everything. Because once you,
That's what I'm saying. You've got to put the right glasses on. This isn't a Band-Aid project. You really got to look at the whole thing, tackle the project as a whole. Or leave it alone, which is what we're doing in the current. So,
And the comments start because of the regionalization issue. I mean, that's why our comments is here is because the
that's a
slowness of
complexity.
investigating that.
we have to look at something. Either will improve the building somehow or seek another alternative. That building is bad.
You know, there's no planning. If something should happen suddenly to the building,
Well, yeah, force
there
our
are no
hand.
options.
Yeah,
There are no options.
that would force our hand.
Um, you know, take it easy. You can picture different kind of catastrophes that might occur that would entail a $3 million fix, for example. On building a school with $3 million fix. Well, you can't do that. If you're gonna spend that much money, unless there's some appeal to be made to the state, which I don't know about, that allows them to break their own rules. If you're gonna spend that much money, according to the rules, you've gotta renovate the whole thing and bring it, the whole thing's gonna be brought up to code. And with another little problem there, I think, is that when they're talking about bringing up the code, they're talking about including making the earthquake proof.
We've had so many earthquakes lately.
So, I mean, you know, this is not building it to specifications, or not repairing it to the specifications that existed when you originally built it. It's repairing it to the specifications that exist for a brand new public building.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. It's just an absolute nightmare. We're trying to figure out what to do. But the one thing that doesn't work is to keep putting off planning.
Should the question be, does Granby need a junior senior high school? If so, how will we manage it? Something along those lines.
I think the purpose of this page is to develop interest. I think that this is a tool, and without sounding too much like a boiling price wolf, we need to get attention to that building. And that's why when I read this, I think about what you're saying, add, instead of replace, add, renovate, or whatever. You know, as far as the adequacy of the existing building, we can kick the can down the road for a long time. And I think legally, I've not had a lot of experience here, but I seem to remember in And now every state, every community has different laws, but if something catastrophic happened to that high school, if a meteor fell on it, the boiler blew up and burnt down a huge chunk of the building, where now to use the building, we have to repair, and the repair costs are greater than that threshold, by the way, is set to renovation cost. If you're renovating the kitchen, if you're renovating the auditorium, then if you hit a certain threshold, now you're triggering the whole building. So if you're replacing something because it was destroyed in a fire, and you've got to use that building, you can bring it back. You've got a time frame you have to act within, and you have a window that you can replace that. So, but I don't think
Without bringing it up to.
without bringing the whole building up, but that's a very unique circumstance. And I don't think we can hope for a meteor landing on the building, you know, I mean, that's off the table.
You have to make it.
Well, maybe if you say, does a junior, senior high school need to be replaced or repaired, you could say, surely we could do that without an override.
That would be another discussion point. That would cause tension.
Passing an override would be easy.
Easy.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
I think for the matters of what we're talking about, gentlemen, these are small strokes in the overall scheme of things.
I think it'll be, an issue in the selectmen election, because Jeff Lawson has come up
Maybe
saying he's against regional and city.
Maybe the complacency is because I think as many times it's been said over the years, I don't know if you just ask somebody at random about state laws on repairing stuff, they wouldn't have any idea.
No,
That you can't do that piecemeal. Because the complacency is that surely we can wait until something's broke before we fix it. And the
That's what
fallacy,
we do now.
what we do now, that's our.
Yeah, that's
range.
well, no. We tried that and we were told we can't. That, we passed in 1 year, we passed enough money to repair the cafeteria and the gym.
right, but now we have to wait before, because we can only replace one of them, because the combination of both of them
And if you
would trigger,
do it within a 3-year period.
right, so now you have to wait 3 years.
Yeah.
Before you can replace the other.
So you're
thing.
not saying repair, you're saying renovate. Is that, there is a cafeteria, there's a kitchen, all those facilities exist.
No, they used to have showers, right?
Yeah, they don't have
They don't have showers in the gyms.
No,
And I believe that's supposed to be the,
That's a problem. Isn't it? I don't know.
We have a lot of
What? Lot of
and deodorant sprays.
teenagers.
sure.
Things are not as good as they seem.
I don't know everything, so that's. I can't believe that's even allowed by the Department of Health. No showers? Well, do we know why, or just, we know?
They're broke.
Plumbing doesn't break. Plumbing, drain might plug, pipe might break, but you fix it. The shower, because of hard water, I had this problem where if you have hard water, you've got to be very careful because all the shower heads will clog up. That's a maintenance thing, changing the shower head. But we don't know, we just.
I find that's and not just in the school department, but that's a continuing. For just
Taking
buildings.
showers?
No, maintenance,
Oh,
of
maintenance,
buildings.
yes.
Yes.
Oh,
maintenance of buildings.
Delayed maintenance is what it's called.
Uh-huh. And to the point where it's too late.
Well, yes, you now have to fix something because you put it on.
That I have noticed, and it's not just the schools.
No.
It's maintenance of,
Too late.
right, so wait, one of my questions is, well, you have to do that for grants. When you get
Right.
technology, what's your plan? How do you maintain it? Are you putting aside money to maintain the technology? over a period of time.
Let me back to my original question. Instead of saying temporary classrooms, what about something on the order of, the assumption is that we can just fix these things piecemeal?
Well, how about Bob's? Surely passing it over right would be easy.
You're talking specifically about the high school, Jim? Or
Yeah.
other things?
Well, the high school is the thing.
See, the challenge with that statement, in my opinion, without knowing what we're talking about, some of these fixing things, like if the boiler breaks, there's probably more than one boiler in the building there. If the roof leaks, what the age or maintenance of.
They know, they have a whole.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. There must.
Hmm?
Roof is good. But I know the windows and everything is built pre, the insulation is like 0 in the walls and probably in the ceiling as well. So it's an energy hog, nothing else. But I like what Bob initially said, replace or renovated or repaired, whatever. What we're trying to do is just plant flags on different subjects. Is this meant to go in? It's not meant to go into the green book, is it?
Yes.
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 So you can go back.
So that's why we want to be,
You can go online and.
Read it, and so the recommendation that you have at the end where Finance Council is making a recommendation for the select board. We want that documented.
Not sure that the finance.
Documentation for the finance committee wanted a study done of the possibility of regionalization.
Well, you're right, I think it works hand in hand.
But I think last year, or, you know, Don and Bob have been saying over and over, like open records for years. Somebody needs to make a plan as for the future of the town. It hasn't happened.
okay, let me just add that, should the school be repaired, surely passing an override would be easy.
I want to add 2 words to the last complacency on the page.
About the courts,
Yep.
okay.
Not permitted, exclamation point.
Where is that? Yeah.
Okay, does the Forest Pond Dam really need to be fixed?
Oh.
Complacency, not permitted. It's a complacency
Right in the beginning,
is
you
it?
want that, not permitted.
permitted.
When I heard you say that, my reaction was, well, that we would not be allowed, not permitted, meaning that we wouldn't be allowed to fix the dam.
No. Do it, I'll change my words, that's 3 words now. No complacency permitted.
Yeah.
It's in front of Granby has gone past the luxury of complacency.
Yeah.
So the sentence read would be, no complacency is permitted. Granby has gone past the luxury of complacency. The state has demanded that Granby fix this disaster when it happened.
Maybe if you put not permitted, Granby has gone past.
I like the luxury of complacency
Yeah,
sentence piece.
so if you just put in there, not permitted, Granby has gone past.
Yeah, but John Smith, I came up with that when I said that
Yeah,
the main thing we're talking about, it's not permitted to repair the dam. That's not at all what it's meant to, just the opposite.
Yeah.
But we're using the words repair, renovate in the project name, but replace probably. we're not.
If I just read it, does the Forge Pond Dam really need to be fixed? And we say not permitted.
Granby
That
has
to
not
me,
passed.
I would hear that as saying,
Yeah.
we're not permitted to fix
Fix
it.
it.
Fix it, and
That's true.
But
We
we're
have to be careful about that.
So, but if we said that no complacency is permitted, Granby has gone past the luxury of complacency. The state has admitted that Granby fixes essentially waiting to happen. That strengthens the sentence.
Yeah.
Let me get you the correct, it's not the state, it's state of safety, I mean, it's title of the Army Corps of Engineers, supposed to be on the state. But let me get that.
Okay, that would be even better. It was like the state and the United States Army Corps of
Yeah.
Engineers.
Have they demanded it at this point, or?
They're listing the dam as unsafe, it's poor. And with that comes all these horrible things that can happen. So I can see somebody in the audience going, well, what's gonna happen? We don't know what's gonna happen. Nothing might happen. That's the
Yeah.
challenge. Nothing might.
We can say, it's our understanding that there are 3 or 4 missiles left over that were not needed in Iran, and we're worried about this.
For a drone strike, I don't know. But nothing might happen. Something might happen too.
Be no floods in Granby.
Okay, the final sentence item. Would you read that over carefully, make sure that it's phrased just to, what was the stuff?
Still. So the whole world sees that the finance council is making this recommendation. At least get the right help so that guidance can be provided. Yeah. So hopefully mitigate the disaster.
So, but this is what we say every year. I
You
mean,
do? Oh, we said this before.
no.
Never said it
with-
this
with-
strong. We've never said it this strongly.
Yeah, but it's said every year, like,
So
Well,
boyfriend.
this is.
That's
this
why
is
they're
the way it's
complacency.
seen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why the complacency is
This
showing
is
something
what I
another year. Every time we've said
think-
this, we've said, people
But-
said, well, yeah, okay, we'll wait another year and see what happens.
Maybe
Surely
instead of
this
the word
can wait another
complacency,
year.
we should
Again.
finance,
Yeah.
maybe
That's right.
frustration.
You just put again at the end of that.
But again, at
Well,
the end of the sentence,
Again.
another year.
That might be,
Surely,
especially if it's.
Yeah.
surely this
Surely.
could wait another year again.
Again. In capital letters.
I don't know that we need all those bold though.
Well,
I do.
Recipe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Cause I mean,
Because when you read bold, it draws your eye, and you wind up reading all the bold words first. And then if it's of interest, you read the whole paragraph.
And when I read these things, I make some more, I put more words in bold instead of read from, so I know where to put some emphasis, but it doesn't work to have something in bold in every place on the page.
No.
But the ones that are on here, I think there's just a few that it's that's really what what people concentrate on.
People write, said bothers me.
What's your middle initial again?
A.
A.
Alexander.
it's. Or emails with caps and private letters.
Well, I got.
Read it and very really.
Ooh, education.
Yeah, but it's under presidency.
What did you do?
I told myself. Al, what the hell?
Yeah.
This one.
Are you?
Well, there's a phone listed in that
No,
name, or was.
They had a landline up in, well, I didn't remove the landline a couple of years ago at the house, so, I mean, we were all on cell phones, but found one, their landline. It didn't get as polluted as my cell phone is. I'm debating about changing my phone number because I get so many spam now. Blocking doesn't work. No, you can't block them. It can't.
The next number is one digit higher.
And the area codes are all over the place. I'm on some list in Vietnam. All these women trying to reach out to me and sending me these pictures. And
Uh-huh.
Years ago, that when I got a new iPhone, it's quite a few years ago. One of the first telephone calls I got was from China.
oh, golly. Was that China?
You have to look up, what.
Yeah, where the area goes. Oh,
And,
yeah.
I didn't take the call, but it was from China. And I thought maybe somebody worked on this phone, putting it together. So I'm gonna call and find out how it was doing. But
Just checking.
Somebody told me they bought a fake iPhone. It was made in China. And I
So
looked
is
at
this,
it and I
is
said,
the meeting or pretty much done?
iPhones are being
all right, we're set up for 6:30 in here on Thursday. And I hope we'll be able to wrap everything up. If not, I'll set a couple meetings for next week.
Yeah, the Monday.
But next Monday is the
Town.
first meeting.
Yeah.
And
and I can't do Tuesday. That's a conservation meeting. Just so you know. If you go into the next week,
I'm hoping not.
I'm hoping that also, but I have conflicts.
Seems like we're pretty much in agreement. It's going on.
Well, it's. Yeah, next Monday's meeting, this is where this is presented, right? This is done at the
This-
meeting,
Yeah. This one's it.
which we have, there's not a lot of time. Because you gotta publish it, right?
Yes.
How many
okay,
copies?
so you can't make
I
Tuesday.
can't do Tuesday, I could make Wednesday, Thursday.
How much time do you think we need?
Uh,
We should
We
be
should-
able to wrap it up on
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Just say
Because we will have a meeting next Monday.
Yeah,
before the
Monday.
Town meeting, so we got
Yeah.
a few minutes in there to do something.
Oh, we do?
But I'm hoping to have this done by Thursday, because the sooner this is done, we can give it to them to put in the
Publish it.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna hope we can wrap it up on Thursday, but I'll set a meeting for,
Wednesday, Thursday.
I'll set one for both Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Tuesday, yeah, no, you wouldn't be able to make it, but, because I'll have to check, I still haven't heard an answer as to when we have to have the write-up in, but meetings are only 3 weeks apart.
Yeah, that doesn't give them, I'm
No, it's
pretty
gonna be
sure they want it
4
as soon as
weeks.
possible.
No, it's longer than 3, the town meeting's the 8th.
They're 4 weeks
It's
apart.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
apart.
So I think we have enough time, but that would be
But we got
right about,
Memorial Day,
right about the end. of
throws a
the-
wrench in
Yeah.
there.
To do
Yeah.
that. So I'll set it, cause I can always cancel.
Yeah.
So I'll set meetings for Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay, anything else?
Yes, in your email you sent out, you said something, there was a statement that you weren't sure of, or major statement, something.
Well, some of these things we've covered. I think. One of them.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because Made it sound like it was gonna be something brand new.
Oh, no, well, that was like,
What it was.
well, that was like, when I discovered that, apparently the cost of the school building had been left out of one of the past years. Explanations of what it was, I was a little surprised by it. It's now complicated because, some places have got it twice, it's the cost of building. Although not specifically stated, maybe, it was basically included the, repayment of school repayment, interest and things, so. It's, and I'm just, again, the thing once again, about there's so many things with basically basic compromises, because to tell the whole story can't be done in an hour's time. You know, it's just, so you just what we're trying to do is convey an idea of the picture of something. Detailing all brush stuff. So if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Don't move.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor? Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.